Hi, my name is David Mannock, and in this video clip I want to share with you from my background in psychology, since I have a dual background, one in theology, where I was taught in graduate school the science of interpretation of the sacred text, and then in psychology where I did my Ph.D., and there I learned how to interpret the subjective walking text. So each person is a walking book, as it were. And then having spent years at graduate school teaching future therapists and counselors, I realized that I needed to create at least a model of counseling education, or as a counselor educator with the responsibility of academically and clinically training future counselors and therapists, what stages do these students go through? And so I discerned 4 stages, and I titled that my quad model of counselor education. It takes 4 stages for a person, the person and their clinical training to integrate, to be joined. Professional training begins with the graduate school. The emerging counselor and therapists often go through a full process, as I said. And my experience, anecdotally, is that a graduate student beginning with pre-graduate internship, where they're actually working with people, and postgraduate internship, where they're completing their internship hour so they can go and take their license exam and be licensed. It takes about 500 to 1,000 direct hours of being and sitting with clients before they gain their therapeutic voice, as I call it. So for the first 1,000 hours, that counselor or therapist has internal anxiety. Am I doing the right thing? Do I understand? How do I apply the theory that I was taught? What's going on? I hope I don't make a mistake. All kinds of anxieties manifested. Somewhere in the hours and hours, the intern will go, I know who I am. I know this room, therapy room, well enough. I don't understand everything, and I haven't mastered it all, but I feel oriented. That's when they get their therapeutic voice, as I call it. So, quad model, 4 stages. First, you got to learn the theory in counseling, and that's usually done academically. Learn the theory, that's first step. You simply learn the theory, and my counselor students are eager beavers. They're bright, shiny faces. They like sponge soak and everything I tell them. In grad school, they're learning the theory. But here's the problem. All that theoretical academic learning translates into, I get this. And I love St. Paul in the New Testament, who says, love builds up, knowledge puffs up. Because that's exactly what I see happening. The students puffed up with all kinds of theory, but it's not integrated yet. Second stage, then we usually send our students into practicum. They practice with each other, or into training, where they may actually start working with real clients, and then pre-graduate internship, and then, as I said earlier, postgraduate internship. Now they're in the stage of working the theory. And that's really the opposite of inflation. Knowledge puffs up. Sitting with the clients has an opposite, wonderful developmental movement. Which then, and if you the students, as I speculated from anecdotal evidence, about 1,000 hours, they go, okay, I know who I am, I know this process, I know this room. Now they're ready for the third stage. They have to edit the theory, because they will painfully, depressingly discover that everything we teach them only works about 70% of the time. The clients you fail with are the ones who teach you how to do counseling and therapy. And the usual initial response of interns is, I must be doing something wrong. And there's enough truth to that. So they double their effort and try again 2 or 3 times. But at a certain point, they realize, wait a minute, this doesn't fully work. Okay, so you teach students concept of boundaries. They get all excited. They go in, try to do boundary work, and they get some successes. Then they start to get failures, and 30% failure rate, and which starts to depress them. But it's the 30% failure rate that will challenge them to ask basic phenomenological questions. Is there such things as boundaries? What is boundaries to begin with? And how does it really interact in the human frame and human experience? And then now they're ready for the third stage, edit the theory. What works, what doesn't, and start to really alter and edit the theory. Okay, and after you do that long enough, then for full integration to happen, where the science of counseling and the art of counseling, which is the clinical part, the practice of the science, in the person integrates, comes together in the final stage, which I call hybridize the theory. So you got to learn the theory, you got to practice the theory, then you start to edit the theory, and then the final stage, you hybridize the theory. You make the theory work for you, and you stop working the theory, and you become the head, and the theory becomes the tail and starts to serve you. Now, this little simple quad model, I think, could be applied to faith development, helping people grow in their faith. And I think it can also be applied to marital life. We start out with all kinds of theories about marriage. Then we get in the trenches. After the honeymoon, we get in the trenches and find out marriage is depressing. It's not working. Not the way I thought. Forces us to hybridize it. Forces us to edit it. What works? What doesn't work? What is marriage to begin with? Then we end up hybridizing it. It says, okay. And that's when things are integrated. Thanks.